My name is Athena Sinclair. I'm 34 years old, and 3 months ago I flew 18 hours to attend my sister's wedding, only to have my own mother block the entrance and tell me to leave. "Only family is allowed," she said. "You weren't invited." I stood there in the dress I had picked out 2 months earlier, holding the gift I had wrapped the night before on my hotel bed, and watched my mother's face show nothing. No guilt, no hesitation, just a door closing. What she didn't know was that my name was on every single vendor contract for that wedding, my credit card, my signature. $38,000. 3 days later, she called. Not to apologize, she called about a bill. Before I tell you what happened next, please take a moment to like and subscribe. Also, drop your location and local time in the comments. I'd love to know where you're listening from. Let me take you back to last November. Brooke called me on a Tuesday evening in London. She was engaged. I felt genuine happiness swell in my chest. Garrett Caldwell, youngest son of the most prominent family in Cedar Bluff, Tennessee. Polite, handsome, came from real money. In the background, my mother, Diane, leaned into frame. She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. "I'll start looking at flights," I said. "When's the date?" A pause. Diane glanced at Brooke, then back at me. "Oh, don't go spending a fortune on a plane ticket. It's just a small wedding." "Mom, it's Brooke's wedding. I'm coming." "Well, we'll see." Something sat heavy in my stomach. I should have paid more attention to how hard my mother was working to keep me away. 2 weeks later, Diane called me. Not Brooke, Diane. "The venue requires a credit card on file. My father and I, well, our credit isn't great. Brooke just graduated. She doesn't have the history. It's 4 contracts total. We just need someone with good credit to sign. You'd be doing your sister a huge favor." Total, $41,000, $3,500 as a deposit, the rest due after the event. I'd heard that kind of promise before. When I was 22, I co-signed a car loan for my father. Took me 3 years to untangle that from my credit report. When I was 28, I wired Diane $4,000 for what was supposed to be a plumbing emergency. It turned out to be Brooke's tuition. But this was my sister's wedding. "Fine," I said, "send me the contracts." I signed every document that week. I told myself this was what family does. Over the next 3 months, the wedding took shape. I watched it happen from the outside. Brooke created a group chat called Caldwell Wedding Crew. I wasn't added. I called Brooke twice to ask about the dress code and whether she wanted a toast. She let both calls go to voicemail. 2 weeks before the wedding, Brooke posted on Instagram, rehearsal dinner. Brooke surrounded by bridesmaids, Diane beaming beside her. The caption, "My whole family, my whole world." I wasn't in it. I hadn't been invited to the rehearsal dinner. I almost called, almost asked why, but I talked myself out of it. I requested a full week of PTO, round trip from London to Nashville cost $1,400, 4 nights at the only decent hotel in town, $680, Brooke's wedding gift, $720, nearly $3,000 before I touched Tennessee soil. I texted Diane when I landed in Chicago. "Just landed, one more flight, can't wait to see everyone." No response for 40 minutes. Then 5 words. "Okay, busy, see you tomorrow." No exclamation point, no safe travels, no we're excited. I boarded the next plane and told myself everything would be fine once I got there. Saturday, 1:45 in the afternoon. Meadow Creek Barn sat on 12 acres of rolling pasture just outside Cedar Bluff, Tennessee. White fences, fairy lights strung between oak trees, a gravel path lined with mason jars and wildflowers. It looked like a magazine spread. I smoothed my dress, picked up the gift box, and walked toward the entrance. I spotted my father first. Frank stood near the barn doors in a rented suit. When he looked up and saw me, his face changed. The polite smile dropped. His eyes went wide, then narrow, then down at his shoes. He didn't wave, he didn't walk toward me. He turned and went inside. I kept walking. The double doors opened from inside, and my mother stepped out. Diane wore a mother-of-the-bride dress in champagne silk. Her hair was done, her makeup was perfect, her jaw was set like concrete. She stopped directly in my path, hands clasped in front of her, not open, not welcoming, a barricade. "Athena," her voice was low and controlled. "Hi, Mom, I made it." She didn't hug me, she didn't step aside. "What are you doing here?" "I'm here for Brooke's wedding, Mom." "You need to leave, now." The gift box suddenly felt very heavy in my hands. "What? I flew 18 hours." Her eyes flicked to the guests passing behind me. "People are watching." "Mom, I'm your daughter." Diane stepped closer, close enough that I could smell her perfume, the same Estee Lauder she had worn my entire life. Her voice dropped to a whisper that cut deeper than any shout. "Only family is allowed inside. You weren't invited." I stood there. The gravel shifted under my heels. Before I could speak, a voice came from inside the barn. "Diane, who's that? Everything all right?" Margaret Caldwell stepped through the barn doors in a lavender dress and pearls. Tall, silver-haired, confident, the kind of woman who runs the church auction and the county fundraiser. She looked at me, open, expectant. Diane turned on like a switch. Her voice went honey-warm. "Oh, it's nothing, Margaret. Just a distant relative who got the wrong venue. Happens with these big events." Distant relative. She said it while looking right at me. Margaret studied my face. "I thought you only had one daughter, Diane." The silence lasted maybe 2 seconds. It felt like 20. Diane laughed, a bright, brittle sound. "I do. This is a cousin from out of town. She's just confused about the schedule." Margaret nodded slowly, glanced at me once, then went back inside. I looked at my mother. In her eyes there was no guilt, no shame, no flicker of "I'm sorry," just fear, raw, cornered animal fear. "A cousin," I said. "Athena, please. You told them you only have one daughter." She didn't answer. She glanced toward the parking lot, willing me to disappear. That was when I understood. She didn't forget to invite me. She erased me, and she had been doing it for years. Every muscle in my body wanted to walk through those doors, to stand in the middle of that ceremony and shout, "My name is Athena Sinclair. I am Diane's eldest daughter. I paid for every flower, every plate, and every note that string quartet is playing." I didn't do it. I crouched down and set the gift box on the stone step, gently, like it mattered. "Keep the gift," I said. "It's for Brooke." Diane's shoulders dropped half an inch. Relief. She thought it was over. "Thank you, Athena. This is really for the—" "Don't. Don't explain. Don't justify. I heard you. I heard every word." I turned and walked back down the gravel path, past the mason jars, past the couples arriving holding hands, laughing. I opened the rental car, sat down, and closed the door. Then I cried. The quiet kind. The kind where your chest shakes but your mouth stays shut, because even alone in a parking lot, you have been trained to not make a scene. Through the open windows, I heard the string quartet begin Pachelbel's canon. The ceremony was starting. I started the engine and pulled out of the lot. In the rearview mirror, Meadow Creek Barn shrank to a speck of light. I didn't slam a single door. I didn't raise my voice once. I just left, and for the first time, Leaving felt like the strongest thing I had ever done. Back at the hotel, I opened my laptop and read every vendor email I had skimmed for months. Meadow Creek Barn, contract holder Athena Sinclair, remaining balance $14,800. Southern Comfort Catering, remaining balance $12,600. Bluebonnet Floral Design, $6,200. Whitaker Photography, $4,400. Total outstanding balance, $38,000. My name, my card, my signature. All of it happening under contracts signed by someone they had just called a cousin. That night, Aunt Ruth called. Ruth Mercer, my mother's older sister. 62, retired school principal. The kind of woman who says exactly what she thinks and never apologizes for it. Diane called her difficult. Everyone else called her honest. I told her everything. The blocked entrance, the whisper, the word cousin, Margaret Caldwell's question, Diane's answer. Long silence. Deliberate. The kind of silence before a storm. She told them you don't exist? Ruth's voice was flat and controlled. She said she only has one daughter. Lord have mercy. Athena, those vendor contracts, whose name are they under? Mine. All of them. Ruth went quiet. When she spoke, her voice had shifted, still angry, but with something harder underneath, something strategic. Then you listen to me, honey. Your mama told a room full of people you don't exist. You don't owe that room a single cent. Sunday morning, Brooke posted the wedding carousel on Instagram. 14 photos. The barn glowing gold, the family portrait, Frank, Diane, Brooke, Garrett, Margaret, and Richard Caldwell. 6 people. 2 families joined together. 1 family short a daughter. The caption, surrounded by everyone who matters. I looked at that Instagram post, then I looked at the invoices. Something shifted. Not a snap, not a dramatic decision. Quieter than that, like a lock turning. Like a door that had been stuck for years, finally clicking open. I was the only person who paid for this wedding. I was the only person not in those photos, and I was the only person receiving invoices for a party I had been thrown out of. Something had to give, and it was not going to be me. Not this time. I picked up my phone and called Meadow Creek Barn. Hi, my name is Athena Sinclair. I am the contract holder for the Caldwell-Sinclair event. I need to inform you that I will not be authorizing the final payment. I was not present at the event, and I am formally requesting that the outstanding balance be redirected to the event hosts. 4 calls, 12 minutes total. I did not yell. I did not threaten. I did not explain why. I just said one word, over and over, politely and firmly. No. Then I canceled the credit card linked to the contracts. $38,000 in outstanding charges would now route directly to the people who threw the party. The deposits, $3,500, were gone. I accepted that. Combined with my travel costs, flights, hotel, the gift, I was out $6,300. The price of learning that I was never going to be enough for them. Tuesday, 9 o'clock in the morning, Tennessee time, my phone rang. Diane. I let it ring 3 times, then I picked up. Athena, hi honey. Sweet, light, the voice she uses when she wants something. I just got the strangest call from the venue. The bill is $38,000. How do we handle this? We don't handle it, Mom. You handle it. Excuse me? I removed my authorization because I'm not responsible for an event I wasn't invited to. Athena, don't be dramatic. This was just a misunderstanding. You told Margaret Caldwell you are a distant relative. You told her you only have one daughter. That is not a misunderstanding, Mom. That is a choice. Longer silence now. Then the mask slipped entirely. After everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me? You raised me, I am grateful for that, but you also stood in front of your daughter and told a stranger she doesn't exist. Those two things can both be true. Your father is stressed, his blood pressure. If something happens to him, that is on you. Dad stood right there and said nothing. He made his choice too. The line went dead. She called back 40 minutes later. No, honey, full throttle. Do you have any idea what you've done? The venue is calling me. The caterer is calling me. I'm getting invoices with your name crossed out and mine written in. Do you know how humiliating that is? I imagine it's about as humiliating as being called a cousin at your own sister's wedding. That is not the same thing. You're right. Yours cost $38,000. She hung up again. Brooke called Wednesday, crying the big theatrical kind she had perfected since childhood. Athena, please. Garrett and I just got married. We don't have $38,000. If you don't pay, we have to pay. You're ruining it. Brooke, did you know Mom told the Caldwells I don't exist? A sniffle, a pause. She said it would be easier that way. I knew before the wedding. I didn't think they'd actually turn you away. But you didn't stop them. Silence. Then, can we please just focus on the bill? Maybe it's time someone gave them honest answers. She hung up. Frank called that afternoon. My father almost never calls. Athena, your mother is very upset. I know. Can you be flexible on this, for the family? Dad, did you know she told people I'm not your daughter? A long exhale. A click. He hung up. Every single one of them hung up when the questions got real. Aunt Ruth, without asking anyone's permission, called Margaret Caldwell directly. Margaret, my name is Ruth Mercer. I'm Diane Sinclair's older sister. There is something you need to know. Diane has 2 daughters, not 1, 2. The older one is Athena. She signed every vendor contract for that wedding, every single one. And on Saturday, Diane stopped her at the door and told her to leave. Ruth said the silence on Margaret's end lasted 10 full seconds. The woman Diane introduced as a distant relative, that was her firstborn daughter. Athena flew 18 hours. She paid the deposit out of her own pocket, and Diane turned her away because she had been telling your family the Sinclairs only had 1 child. Margaret's voice went cold and thin. Why would Diane do that? You would have to ask her, but that girl flew 18 hours, signed every check, and got turned away like a stranger, and she still didn't make a scene. That is more grace than my sister deserves. Cedar Bluff is a small town. By the following week, the story had made its way through the Baptist church, the diner, the PTA network, and the auto dealership. Diane Sinclair hid her eldest daughter, turned her away at the wedding, and then sent her the bill. The Caldwells did not cover the $38,000. Brooke and Garrett took out a personal loan. The fairy tale wedding now had a monthly payment attached. Garrett confronted Brooke 4 days into their marriage. You have a sister, an actual sister, and she paid for our entire wedding, and your mother kicked her out? It's complicated, babe. It's not complicated, Brooke. It's a lie. Your family lied to my family on our wedding day. The newlyweds' first real fight happened over a sister the groom didn't know existed. 6 months have passed since that Saturday at Meadow Creek Barn. I was promoted, senior software engineer at the fintech company I have been with for 4 years. I started therapy. We have been unpacking something my therapist calls functional over-responsibility, the belief that if I perform well enough, sacrifice enough, the people I love will finally see me. It is the engine that powered every check I wrote, every flight I booked, every time I said fine when I meant this hurts. Standing in my kitchen in London, holding a cup of tea I made for myself, in an apartment I earned with work I am proud of, I felt the weight lift. A boundary is not punishment. It is not revenge. It is not a weapon. A boundary is the moment you say, I'm worth more than this, and then you act like it. $38,000. That is what my freedom cost, and I do not regret a single penny I did not pay. If you are the one who always pays, emotionally, financially, for a seat at a table that was never built for you, maybe it's time to build your own table and sit at the head of it. Thank you for staying until the end. If this story touched something real in you, drop a comment below. What would you have done? I will be reading every single one. Subscribe if you want more stories like this one. Stories about family, about boundaries, about finding your voice when the people closest to you try to silence it. Take care of yourself. You are worth more than you have been told.